these things do? Do they just increase circulation?
The smart energy system increases adrenal function. It supports us to the liquid and the ribose is the backbone of energy production. If we eat food, we have to start a molecule called ATP, and the backbone of those molecules is ribose. We did 2 studies showing an average 61% increase in energy just using ribose by itself. Rhodiola increases stamina, so it's research done by the University before you pass it up. So there's so many different things that we and again, what we do is we look at the research, and then we go ahead and see what works, and then we do it clinically and we see what works.
Now, what about basic vitamins, like A, B, C, D, your basic vitamins?
Okay, so let's get to the M, the nutrition.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, no, we skipped immunity and infection.
We'll go back.
We'll go back, okay.
So, check out M. So number 1, diet. Main thing is to cut down the sugar and increase the salt. Not decrease this disease. The salt is good. You will likely die from heart failure. Low adrenal requires more salt. Orthostatic intolerance, the salt metabolism requires more salt. So the low sugar, high salt. Now, if you have a sweet tooth, you can get, if you like chocolate, really make the chocolate that's great. The sweet chocolate is sugar-free. The CRMD, which if you remember the movie when you're in Nuts Valley, and she fakes an orgasm, that's what people sound like after they have the ERMD sugar-free truffles. So you want to keep and enjoy your sweet tooth, but without the sugar. Avenir has a whole line of sugar-free sodas that are all natural. So again, simple things. Eat whole foods. But most of the listeners already know that.
Right.
The listeners already have the past without junk cheap food. Now, people ask, what vitamin and mineral do I need? Because half of the vitamins and minerals are lost in food processing in the U.S. You can't, unless you're spending 24 hours a day, you're not going to get optimal levels. And the answer to which one you need is all of them. So there's a simple powder, because to get all you need is, people have to take handfuls of pills. It's crazy. There's a simple powder called the Energy Revitalization System, where one drink replaces over 50 pills, but that's all 50 nutrients that are missing from the diet, vitamins, minerals, acids, all that. And it's one drink. Makes it really easy. That's what I take this morning. And in fact, most people, the Energy Revitalization System and the Smart Energy System, to go two together, most people find a dramatic increase in energy, stamina, and how they feel overall.
So, there's a common protocol out there that I've heard that helps people with immunity against COVID. It just helps boost the immunity, and it's, what is it? It's vitamin C, zinc,
vitamin C, zinc, quercetin, vitamin A. These are the key ones. All of those are already in the energy revitalization system on optimal levels. The quercetin sometimes will have a different bioflavonoid in it. It's a bioflavonoid. If you eat fruit, that white part between the skin and the fruit, they're very high in bioflavonoids. They help support blood vessel integrity, along with vitamin C. And the studies, again, the most important one, I think, and then the vitamin D. Those are the two critical ones.
Why is zinc the most important for immunity?
We talk about the different glands, like thyroid makes thyroid hormone, and makes cortisol and other hormones. Immunity is regulated by the thymus gland. And the hormone for that gland is called thymidine, and it is zinc dependent. It won't work if you don't have adequate or optimal zinc. And chronic inflammation or infections cause you to pee out all your zinc. So you don't have it, and if you don't have it, your hormone system won't work.
Okay, so that's why that whole cascade, that whole function is what helps people against.
It's zinc and vitamin A dependent, but again, vitamin A causes birth defects. If a woman is taking more than 8,000 units a day and gets pregnant, high risk of birth defects. So I do not recommend taking that separately. Again, The vitamin powder has all of that in it at optimal levels.
Okay. Now, so that was around the nutrition conversation. Now there's the inflammation conversation. And this is part of the science.
And also, it could be, the second half of the ache will be hypotension or low blood pressure. For those of you post-COVID, again, in addition to all these other things, and with CFS and fibromyalgia in general, it's very common. Remember we talked about the circuit breaker called the hypothalamus that controls sleep, so you can't sleep, and your hormones are low across the board. It controls autonomic function, blood pressure, pulse, sweating, and gut function. Which means you stand up, gravity, think about it, with the gravity water, the blood all up your back and legs. And normally our legs are still potentially back up, the autonomic system goes a little back up to the brain and heart and everything else, but that's not working. When you have this COVID, long haulers, and it's the effect of fibromyalgia. But there's no simple, there's a 2-minute series, there's no simple channel, that's the effective history, test, and there's a simple 10-minute pulse test, where you lie down for 10 minutes, and then stand up in one place and check your pulse every minute or two for 10 minutes. And if it shows up anytime during that 10 minutes, 25 beats per minute more than it was lying down, then you probably have orthostatic intolerance, and treating that will be doing a lot better. Even if it goes up 15 to 20 beats per minute, and the presence of severe fatigue, I'm going to treat that. And you can start as simple as increasing salt and adrenal support, but there are other things, even medications, that can be very helpful for that. But those factors, I don't even know what it is.
Do you know what kind of salts are good? Is it just table salt or Himalayan?
As far as the orthostatic intolerance and maintaining blood pressure and pulse and blood volume, any salt is fine. But to me, I think salt is an information medium. It's a crystal, and I think it's much more complex than just sodium and chloride. We don't know. There's no research on it. We don't even have to force research it. But I like to just sea salt, Mediterranean salt. So, I just very good fit for sea salt. And I'm going to listen to what feels good. My body, I trust my body to tell me what it's done.
And then how much? Yeah, I guess that's what you're saying. You can have
Yeah, that's it. I trust my body to tell me what it's done.
Right. Now, what about, so something like echinacea?
It's really good. It's not high on my list of immune. It's one because I want stimulant control, but I want immune enhancers and balancers. And echinacea can be helpful. Sometimes it's got a lot of popularity, but it's not in my top 20 things for things that enhance immunity.
Alright. I didn't even know it was a thing like echinacea.
It's an immune enhancer.
Don't you want that? Don't you want your immune system to be enhanced?
It's immune balancers. Because you think about it, our immune system, let's look at inflammation, for example. Inflammation is not bad. It's a critical, healthy part of life, but it's out of balance in our country because of the increased sugar and increased white flour and the grain-fed beef meats. All these are triggering excess inflammation. I don't want to be stimulated by that.
That makes sense. Right. And so, by the way, that's what you said about the sugar, the grain-fed animal, and the extra sugar of the other one.
White flour, and grain-fed animal, decreased omega-3. I'll give you another simple question, but you know I'm not going to kind of down. But you want to understand of whether there's inflammation is on overdrive. What happens when you get a paper cut? Most of us just like out, and a minute later we forget about it. It's gone. But if a half hour later, it's still kind of red and angry and it's still hurting. Yeah. That's just the other inflammation. So yeah, that's too high to get balanced.
That's inflammation. So whenever you get any type of a cut, if it's really inflamed, then that's your body not being able to heal itself fast.
Or anything that ends in itis is inflammation, arthritis, appendicitis. So if we have any of these things, they suggest that.
Thyroiditis.
Yeah, anything with itis means inflammation is on overdrive. It needs to be balanced.
So what are the top foods to avoid?
Soda, food.
Okay.
So you have 59% that might be a bit close. Good luck with these big policies today.
So we are going to come back with Dr. Hannibal and take your questions. So give us a call and Dr. Kfi and we will be right back. I'm Isabel. You're listening to Coast to Coast 4. The Delta variant is making COVID-19 spread faster and more easily. Variants can be more contagious, aggressive, and deadly. But we know vaccines work. Vaccinated Californians have greater protection against serious illness, hospitalization, and death. We can help stop the spread and end this pandemic. Get vaccinated and wear a mask when it can protect you and others. Find a vaccine near you at myturn.ca.gov. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
In the 90s, Bruce Willis couldn't avoid the fire. I'm sure he discovered a tiny mountain town. On the podcast Hollywood, discover what happens when Hollywood glamour collided with the small-town values of Haley, Idaho.
It's a tale of people first to Bruce Willis who've never been killed in Hollywood. It is the story of the people of Haley are recounting in detail for the very first time.
Listen to Hollywood at HAI on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. My first got the Beamer. The first time I got my car, somebody was listening. All it would be talking in German. And you're doing it perfect. Mornings from 6 to 10. 911 system is totally broken. You called, you're on a pole. You get a recording saying the first available operator will get to you. People call 911 and they ask for recipes for cornbread. And what's even worse, the 911 operator will handle it. Mornings from 6 to 10. People don't understand chemical castration. I used to say, take away your landmark. They just take them away. I don't know. I think there's something to it. No, you have to be really well experienced to lay your head everywhere. This is the guy who moves out of his company. Did you do that? I'm sorry, Doc. Which guy said that? It's not going to be your last word. Which guy said that? On KFI. I'm Brian Berman from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. 8 people have been killed at a music festival in Houston when the crowd surged toward the stage where festival founder Travis Scott was performing with surprise guest hip-hop star Drake. Judge Dina Hidalgo says what happened is a shock.
It's not the kind of event you go to where you expect to find out about fatality. And so our focus right now is to support the families of the victims.
About 300 people were injured when the crowd pressed together and went stampeded Friday night. 13 are still in the hospital. The festival that was supposed to run through the weekend has been canceled. The moratorium on short-term rentals in Costa Mesa has been extended another year because of a spike in complaints during the pandemic.
It's one thing to have neighborhood parties. It's another one to have parties 7 days a week. So we had issues with parking and overflow and noise that was just unsustainable.
Costa Mesa Mayor John Stevens says the city council will use the time to create regulations and the permitting process. The village says short-term rentals offer a way for property owners to earn extra income. Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who has COVID-19, says he's feeling better. He says he's been doing alternative treatments instead of getting vaccinated because he's allergic to something in the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine. Dr. John Brownstein says Rodgers has another option, get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
There is unfortunately no other scientifically proven treatment that would give you that protection, that would give you that sort of immunized term. And this is why really the NFL ruled them as unvaccinated.
He says unauthorized treatment could have major side effects. A police dog in Sacramento has been stabbed trying to stop a bad guy.
Officers have been trying to locate a man Friday night who had warrants out for his arrest for making threats and for stalking. When cops confronted him, the guy who had a knife took off out the back door of a house. The canine named Ranger and his handler went after him. Ranger ended up being stabbed in the abdomen and had to have emergency surgery. Ranger is expected to make a full recovery. Despite his injuries, Ranger got his guy and then had to be treated for dog bites. Amy King, KFI News.
Chris, I ladies and KFI, low clouds and fog and partly cloudy by the afternoon. Low 60s to low 70s at the beaches, low 70s in metro LA and OC. Heavy fog, limiting visibility in Northern Valley, highs in the upper 60s to mid 70s, low to upper 70s in the Inland Empire. Right now, 64 degrees in Encino, 54 in Santa Monica, 55 in Brea, and 59 in Irvine. We local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm John Boyd.
Turkey KFI traffic, we do a plan to downtown way on 30 south of 1 point, that is blocking the center lane. Two rounds with Cucamonga, 15 south on Thomas Avenue, transfer over to 2 left lane block. And Cleveland, Ontario, 60 westbound from Detroit to Ramona, 3 right lanes turning up until 7 a.m. KFI inside, 50 there faster, I'm finishing.
Hey, Gary, how are things?
Things are great, but I crushed my mortgage payment with Oni without even leaving my couch. I got a no closing cost refi at a great low rate, and Oni did it all in less than 3 weeks. No reason, no much, no fuss.
Right there. Call Odin at 855-5-ODIN and crush your mortgage payment with today's 30-year fixed refi at 2.75% rate at APR with no closing costs. None. Zero. Even if you refinance recently, call 855-5-ODIN and let us crush your monthly payment even more. That's 855-5-ODIN or log on to odin.com.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 53-52-64-64
You can crush it too with a 30-year fixed 2.75% rate in APR with absolutely no closing costs.
With so many protein bar options, how do you choose? Here's a little secret. They keep the fresh ones in the fridge. V2G bars are premium protein bars that taste amazing. Find them in the fridge at Albertsons, Smarty Final Extra, and V2GBar.com.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
Our parents were really supportive that all 5 of us were going. I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture. It helped me get my job, it helped me pay for my house.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the California Army National Guard, aired by the California Broadcasters Association and this station.
Join us just now today with 1877 Cars for Kids. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a vacation voucher of 3 days and 3 nights. Also on the web at carsforkids.com.
So much your car today. Accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Radio advertising will connect your business with holiday shopping wherever they go. Use our hard ad builder to create an affordable customer-reliant ad on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, and hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Hey, I heard that air conditioner has a really irresistible offer for everyone out radio land. We use that. We do. Well, tell me about it. Rejuvenation. But the summer's about over. I know. That's why the time is now. You're going to have to explain that. If you have electric heat, your heater is just your air conditioner running backwards all winter. You're trying to run the refresher? Yeah. And if you have gas heat, now is the time to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape and restore the factory spec so that you can turn it on with confidence when the desert heat returns in a couple of months. Rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. I know. Just $129. That's a great deal. Great deal is what I'm known for, Jack. Really? I thought you were mostly known for having a bathroom face. Well, that's it. Well, yeah. Baby said you said hello, by the way.
Hey, I'm Billy Dallas, Local Ryan Stillman, and I'm here to tell you that my very, very popular and successful podcast, Big Money Energy, is returning for Season 2 on October 25th. So subscribe now. Season 2 features conversations with some of the smartest people in the world, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Ben Baller, Rebecca Minkoff, James Bishop,
and more. Listen to Big Money Energy on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. This hour of KFI is brought to you by Sunlux, your best value in solar for all your energy needs. Sunlux.com.
Good morning, everyone. This is KFI Am 640, more stimulating talk. Don't forget that you can catch KFI everywhere and anytime on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Avenir, and I'm the host of The Daily Dive, a daily news podcast covering some of the top stories making waves in the news. You can catch a new episode of The Daily Dive Monday through Friday on iHeartRadio, and it's ready for you when you wake up. Here, in The Daily Dive Weekend Edition, I'll be bringing you some of the best stories that covered during the week. In the big stories this week, the Biden administration finally released new vaccine rules that could cover more than 100 million workers in the country. For companies with more than 100 employees, the deadline is now January 4th for them to be fully vaccinated or get tested weekly. Employers are not required to pay for testing, so the burden is going to be placed on the employee to pay for it. There is already opposition to these new rules, and lawsuits will be following. For more on all this, we'll speak to Mo Kelly, host of the Mo Kelly Show on KFI Radio.
It is less, I would say, a vaccine mandate and more a testing mandate. As long as that option is in there, I don't know if you can call it a mandate. But as you said, this covers companies with 100 or more employees, and they're expected to be fully vaccinated by January 4th. And my greatest concern, and I say that just from a lack of knowledge standpoint, is there any real enforcement provision? As it's written, it's going to be left up to the companies to self-enforce, which means that that really isn't an enforcement provision if you're leaving it up to the companies. And given this highly politicized issue, then you're leaving it up to companies to almost like take a poll of the employees to see how well it would go over if they were to enforce it. But that's with just the vaccines. But something else very important, employers do not have to pay for testing for those employees who are going to test. And those tests could be some $65 each, and you might have to do it 2 or 3 times a week. That's going to be costly.
Yeah, that's the interesting one for me, too, because we've seen it already with a couple of other companies. Delta Airlines comes into mind, where they were charging their employees $200 a month if they weren't being vaccinated, and that was related to, hospital costs that they think that they would incur if you got sick enough. But it's kind of the same thing. It's almost like we're going to make it so bad for you with the testing part of it, you might as well just get the vaccine at that point. And that seems to be what it would be here. If the employers are going to say, well, we're not going to pay for it, I'm pretty sure most of them are going to try to enforce it that way, then it falls on the employee too, the extra burden right there. And it's kind of like you weigh the options. At what point don't you just go get the vaccine?
Right. But again, that goes back to whether the companies are all in making sure that employees are going to be vaccinated. Now, this is going to be done through OSHA, but I'm not sure that OSHA is going to be looking over the shoulder of these companies to make sure that they're following through. If my company has 115 employees, and I think I don't want to necessarily stir the pot too much, but hopefully you'll go out there and get the vaccine, but we're not necessarily going to be strict with it. I don't know what you do at that point.
Yeah, on the OSHA standpoint, I think they've already kind of said that they don't have enough employees to monitor all these companies, so it's going to largely fall on complaints. If somebody complains about it, then they're going to investigate it. They find a violation, you'll get fined, all that. But that's pretty much the model they're going to be working on. Or they said also, if they're already at your business for something else, they're going to include that and just kind of double check. So, yeah, the enforcement part of it is always that thing that's troublesome. Workers are going to get paid time off to go get vaccinated and chill out if you had some adverse reactions. That's all going to be paid for there. If you're not going to be vaccinated, you're going to have to wear that mask at the workplace. So I know that's a problematic thing. But, we've already seen signals of a lot of lawsuits against this. Republican attorney generals, Republican states and governors have already signaled they're going to be doing it. But the administration took their time, weeks, in writing these rules to make sure that it would stand up to muster to a lot of lawsuits, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and you also have to be careful to separate the signal from the noise. Here in Los Angeles specifically, there have been a number of lawsuits. We've had the Los Angeles Police Protective League, which has sued the city. LA firefighters have sued the city against just the local vaccine mandates. But that's not necessarily representative of the body politic in the sense of officers. And I think their vaccination rate is somewhere around 90%, and firefighters may not be as high, but close to that. So although there is this public pushback, we can look at individual organizations and see, for the most part, people are getting vaccinated.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the next thing I wanted to bring up, too, kind of the political ramifications of this. And you're right to your point, just briefly, there's this rule for the vaccines for employers with more than 100 people. There's rules for federal contractors. There's the local rules. There's so many mandates swirling all around. It gets kind of confusing. But how does this play out politically? Because there was a story about the NYPD, and that's the city rules and all that,
Yes.
and they're saying there's going to be thousands of officers not working. Well, really, the only people that have been put on unpaid leave have been about 34 to 40. There's thousands others that are requesting the religious exemptions, but that's going to be borne out over time. But still, the vaccination rates are up in the 90s, in the high 80s. Most people are getting the vaccination. So how does all of this stuff play out?
I would say if you're a supporter of the Biden administration, you would have to be happy, if only because our country is open. And the goal was to get the country open. We can make a direct line from the vaccines to getting the country open. But if you're a Democrat more generally, this is probably not going to play well nationally and is going to impact the midterms in terms of the House races and the Senate.
Right, because that's the issue, right? And we've seen along the way, too, a bunch of unions saying, hey, nobody's opposed to the vaccine, particularly we just don't want the government telling us what to do. And that's kind of the drumbeat that I hear now as a lot of these deadlines for these vaccine mandates are coming to pass. And as I said, the lawsuits are coming on that front.
The lawsuits are coming, but it's not necessarily going to change policy.
Well, we'll keep monitoring all of that. As I mentioned, there's a bunch of different mandates coming at you from all over the place. You most likely will fall into one of them. I think the new one, they said it could probably cover more than 100 million workers. So the big effort, obviously, is just to get as many people to be vaccinated as possible. So we'll keep an eye out on all of that. Mo Kelly, host of the Mo Kelly Show on KFI Radio in Los Angeles. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The other big thing that happened this past week, election night 2021, and it did not look good for Democrats. In a very closely watched race for governor in Virginia, Republican Glenn Youngkin pulled out the win over Terry McAuliffe. Messaging was way off for Democrats, and Youngkin proved he could win without fully embracing Donald Trump. For more election night takeaways, we'll speak to David Siders, national political correspondent at Politico.
Yeah, I think to say it doesn't look good is, the understatement of the week. I mean, this is cataclysmic, and I think that people are rightfully drawing all sorts of conclusions from Virginia, but not because Glenn Youngkin won. If he had won by simply juicing the Trump base, by depressing Democratic turnout, kind of the old Trump playbook, maybe Democrats wouldn't be so concerned. But the way he won is just devastating for Democrats. He clawed back voters in the suburbs, independents, did much better with women, all while overperforming Trump's numbers in some of the Trump country in Virginia. It's just recipe for disaster across the board for Dem.
Tell me a little bit about the messaging that was going on, because it's obviously very important. It seemed like Terry McAuliffe was running a very national sort of campaign. Glenn Youngkin, too, at some point, right, he was talking about critical race theory and the school issue, but the school issue ended up becoming one of the top things in the governor's race, and the messaging just won out for him on that side.
Yeah, on schools in particular, this is where Democrats could take some heart. I think there's broad agreement among Democrats that they've done a poor job messaging on critical race theory, and that McAuliffe in particular shot himself in the foot with that comment at his date that in September, right? He said something like, parents shouldn't be telling schools what to be teaching the kids.
Right.
So those are some discrete problems in Virginia that, you could recover from if you're a Democrat. The bigger problem is that there was this lesson, a little bit from California, that in the recall, that the way you boosted Democratic turnout was just relentlessly yoking your opponent to Trump, that he was still a viable figure to cast Republicans negatively with. And that just didn't play in Virginia. The voters didn't buy it. So McAuliffe spent all this money, all this time, every other sentence he said, it was Trump. And it just didn't play. And if Trump, the bogeyman, doesn't work for Democrats, they have a real problem.
Right, and we talked about that specifically when the California recall was happening and how effective a message that was to get people out in California. Obviously didn't happen here, but it shows for the GOP, too, Republicans, they can win without Trump. They don't have to tie themselves completely to him, and Glenn Youngkin was a perfect example. He wasn't shunning him or anything like that, but he was trying to distance himself from the Trump issue and all that, so, something to take forward for them as well. You're listening to the Daily Dive Weekend Edition on KFI AM 640 and everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation about all the bad news for Democrats after Election Day.
Hey, Gary, how are things?
Things are great, but I crushed my mortgage payment with owning without even leaving my couch. I got a no closing cost refi at a great low rate, and owning did it all in less than 3 weeks. It was easy, no muss, no fuss.
Be like Gary. Call Owning at 855-5-OWNING and crush your mortgage payment with today's 30-year fixed refi at 2.75% rate at APR with no closing costs. None. Zero. Even if you've refinanced recently, call 855-5-OWNING and let us crush your monthly payment even more. That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 823-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
You can crush it too with a 30-year fixed 2.75% rate and APR with absolutely no closing costs.
Save big. Go solar American style with Semper Solaris. Semper Solaris is your local veteran-owned solar and battery storage contractor. Add Tesla Powerwall and be ready for blackouts. We get the job done with esprit de corps and honor. Semper offers new AC systems with a lifetime warranty and new roofs with a 50-year warranty. We hire vets and give back to the community with our Semper Cares initiative. Go solar and declare your independence. No down, interest or payments till 2023. Get the federal 26% solar and battery tax credit. $500 downloadable coupon. $500 off for military, first responders, and healthcare workers. Call 877-211-5591. That's 877-211-5591. Or visit SemperSolaris.com.
26% federal tax credit based on eligibility. Consult your tax advisor. Cannot be combined with any other offers. Some restrictions apply. New customers only. Call or see website for details. Expires 11/30/2021. CSW number 978-152.
If you think your dishwasher is only good for cleaning or that your washer dryer is just for laundry, think again. Those appliances can also reduce your impact on climate change if you make sure not to run them between peak hours of 4 to 9 p.m. because outside those times, there's more renewable energy for them to use. SCE Time of Use Rate, an easy way to make a change for the better. Visit SCE.com/POU rate for more information. In the 90s, Bruce Willis couldn't avoid the spotlight until he discovered a tiny mountain town. On the podcast Haleywood, discover what happened when Hollywood glamour collided with the small-town values of Haley, Idaho.
It's a tale people close to Bruce Willis have never been keen on telling, but it's a story the people of Haley are recounting in detail for the very first time.
Listen to Haleywood at HAILEY on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcast. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
Yes, I know. I have a calming demeanor. You know when it's your job, basically, to push people beyond their comfort zone, it's good to make them feel as safe as possible. Like an open heart surgeon for your home. You'll do fine. No worries. We got you.
Home with Dean Sharp. The House Whisperer this morning at 9 on KFI AM 640.
More stimulating talk.
This is KFI AM 640. I'm Oscar Ramirez, and you're listening to the Daily Dive Infinity. So next in Virginia, we're also looking at New Jersey, where the race for governor there, Democratic Governor Phil Murphy, the incumbent, had a really close race. I think it's still too close to call right now, but although he is in a very, very slight lead.
Yeah, I think the expectation of most people is that Murphy will eke it out. But this is almost more startling than the Virginia race, which was expected to be close. And Murphy was not expected to have a contest here in New Jersey. And again, it just goes to how big a problem Democrats have. Biden is a drag on the Democratic Party right now. There's extreme frustration among the electorate with Democrats, and their counter-messaging against Trump just isn't working. So Democrats need to find an affirmative message like yesterday to campaign on in the midterms, or else it's going to be a bloodbath next year.
And get something passed, right? We've been going through this whole thing with the infrastructure bill, with the spending plan. I know progressives want to tie them both together, but right now, looking back, it seems like they should have passed that infrastructure bill when they could have, continue to work on the spending bill, and they could have had something to run on. And even still, they still need to get it done so they can have something to run on for the midterms. So the breakup kind of in the Democratic Party is also the continuing issue. We have progressives, we have more moderate Democrats, and even an election day that we saw yesterday, there was a lot of moderate wins for Democrats. They got overshadowed by some of these bigger races, but there were some wins for them. But having to deal with what's going on with the progressive wing of the party is something super important that they need to tackle quickly.
Yeah, well, how you called it a breakup is, I think, perfectly on. I mean, criticize the media for talking about Democrats in disarray, but holy smokes, the Democrats are in disarray. As you mentioned, it was progressives took a lot of hits. The Minneapolis ballot measure, the Democratic Socialist who was running in Buffalo and fell short, the Seattle mayor's race that went to the moderate.
In New York, too.
Yeah, in New York, too, although that was cementing a race that was locked in earlier in the year. But yeah, but on the other hand, it's not like it's Bernie Sanders dragging the party down right now. It's the guy who ran as the establishment moderate figure, Biden. So if you're a progressive, you're rightfully complaining, or you have at least a reasonable case to make, that if Democrats had gotten some of their progressive policies or ideas done, maybe voters would have something to be excited about. The point is, just what you said, there's a breakup. Progressives did not see this as a deviation of the progressive agenda. Moderates see it as a need to be more moderate. People like Manchin and Sinema are probably even more empowered now. They're beyond moderates. They're like the stickiest centrists of the bunch. So how the party can deal in the next, we're talking a matter of months now. The midterms are right upon us. That's a real tricky situation.
Well, we'll monitor all of that, and as the big takeaway of the night, the Democrats need to get their stuff together on all of this.
Yeah.
David Siders, national political correspondent at Politico, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
This week, we also saw the Pfizer vaccine be approved for kids ages 5 to 11. And while there's a lot of concerns with giving the vaccine to children, the dosage has been adjusted. Children in this age range will only be getting 10 micrograms of RNA in each shot, versus the 30 micrograms for those 12 and up. The dosage is very important, and it's less about weight and size, more about how the body can marshal a defense. For more on all this, let's speak to Catherine Wu, staff writer at The Atlantic.
Yeah, so exactly as you said, the kid's dose is smaller, it's 10 micrograms, adults get 30 micrograms, and this is specifically for 5 to 11-year-old age range. If we get another set of authorizations for kids 4 and under, they're only going to be getting 3 micrograms, which is a tenth of the adult dose. Some of this might sound kind of intuitive, like, all right, smaller people, younger people, smaller doses, that seems reasonable, but getting into the math of how these cutoffs are set, like why this size or why this age, might feel a little counterintuitive.
Right.
I think the first thing to know here is that, a lot of parents, they might be less familiar with giving their kids medications like Tylenol. You read the directions for that, it's going to say, okay, figure out how much your kid weighs, and then dose them based on that. That logic makes sense for drugs, but it doesn't really quite translate over to vaccines. Vaccines are really given based on your kid's age because it's really based on the age of the immune system. And kids' immune systems are going to be kind of spicier, livelier, more easily kind of reactive to viruses than adults are, which means they're going to be able to learn more easily from a little bit less vaccine.
Tell us a little bit about the clinical trials that they did to find the right dosage, because the initial test was 4 different dosage levels, which was the 30 micrograms, 20, 10, and 3. And they found some success with the first 2, right? 3 micrograms and 10 micrograms. And that's what they decided to go with and continue studying. But tell me a little bit more about how that whole process went.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you just described is what researchers call a dose ranging study. It's exactly what it sounds like. They test a range of doses. And what they're looking is for a sweet spot. They want to give the person enough vaccine that it's going to prompt their immune system to respond to it, remember the vaccine, so that they can fight off the actual virus that already occurs. But not so much vaccine that it causes unnecessary side effects. Everything from the fever or chills or soreness when you get injected, to things that are rarer and possibly more dangerous and might last a longer time. Generally speaking, the more vaccine you give, the higher the risk of side effects becomes. And so you want to give the